May 27th, 2025, roll call please.
Belkey.
Here.
Bennett.
Here.
Cornish.
Here.
Farrell.
Here.
Marcinkowski.
Here.
Smith. Here. Stevenson. Washington.
Here. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On this next one, I want to appoint and confirm the following municipal officers unless someone wants to pull out a certain name to vote on it individually. If not, I'll read them all off to save time or just vote on them like that. Anybody want to pull out a name? Nope, okay. I'll read them. Police Chief, David Roth, Collector, Paul Grove, City Attorney, Luke King, Building Inspector, Code Enforcer, Blake Blanky, and Zoning Board of Appeals, Liz Hunt. Need a motion? Second.
Excuse me. I mean, who is this latest person you wrote?
I put her resume on her desk. About a week ago. No, not tonight, like last week or the week before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bennett.
Yes.
Cornish.
Yes.
Farrell.
Yeah.
Marcinkowski.
Yes.
Smith. Yes. Washington. Washington.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. That resume.
Should be 2 pages, I think.
Yes.
And Belkey.
Yes.
That it? Okay, now need a motion to approve the omnibus agenda. Move approval of the omnibus agenda.
Second.
Yeah, roll call.
Cornish.
Yes.
Farrell.
Yes.
Marcinkowski.
Yes.
Smith. Yes. Washington.
Yes.
Belkey.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
That it? We now go to the audience. You have 5 minutes. Please approach the rail there. State your name.
There's no way I can display what I have, present in 5 minutes. It's impossible. You want me to jump to the major problems first? I'll skip some of this.
You have 5 minutes, Terry. We can't answer questions, right?
This project on Hunter and Summerfield in conjunction with the new lift station on Hunter Street. There was multiple violations done Friday. Here's some pictures we can pass around. Can I enter the chamber?
Sure.
One person might not recognize what this is. Major OSHA violation. Mr. Belkey showed up Saturday and spotted it also. There's EPA issues with batteries from flashing lights being left in the waterway. One of my major concerns is flooding of my patio in my backyard. My patio in my backyard drains to the north, and that's full of dirt. The ditch is full. There's pictures here you can pass around. Look at this example. How's the water gonna flow? On Wednesday, the 21st, this past week. No one sent out any notifications to anyone in my neighborhood that I'm aware of. Neighbors called me in panic. What's going on? On Wednesday, I called Penny. She said it was up to the contractor whether to trench the whole project or to bore. Then I found out that there was a change work order. You were involved in that, right? Mr. Mayor? What day was that when the change work order? You remember?
I said we can't answer the questions right now, Terry.
Oh, you
We'll answer them.
Okay. There was a change work order after I spoke to Penny. Okay?
Okay.
So what I was told was not true fact, that it was the contractor's choice. It's the city's choice. And she's in charge of the sewer and water department. You signed, if I remember correctly, you told me you signed the change order. Change orders are expensive. When a project gets started, you have a change order. My question is, why did you not do the corner of Hunter and Summerfield the same way that you did Hunter Street? Why didn't you go up at least one block to Staunton Street to resolve the issue with water runoff? Because now there's no ditch open. Here's my patio. That was serious enough, I could have called OSHA. This is my town. I hate to be here because this town does not need any more negative. The communications in this town are pathetic when it comes to City Hall. They don't contact people. They don't contact residents when there's things that need to be notified. This town has runaway business all my life. I've lived here all my life. I grew up on a farm. After high school in 1975, I moved to town. Been here ever since. I've done everything from construction in this area to building inspections in this, even for this town and other municipalities and independent. I know what I'm seeing. I know what's wrong here. But the major problem is communication, and it starts in this chamber. Not just with you, Mayor, but everybody. I called my alderman, that's right down the street from me. He didn't even come up and look at it, as far as I know. Maybe drove by it, but no response. There's other issues in my neighborhood, flooding issues that have been there for over 30 years. I bought my lot there on 534 Hunter Street, the corner of Hunter and Summerfield. I purchased that lot. It was an empty lot in 1979. 78. In 79, the house was completed. I became resident there. Been there ever since. Raised my children here. Those forks sticking up, those backhoe forks, if somebody would have gotten impaled on them over the holiday, they were left there Friday at the end of the day, and they were still there Saturday morning until Penny came up and moved them with a city backhoe, which I think is wrong. It's a contractor's responsibility to move them. That's his equipment. My 5 minutes are probably over.
I think so, Terry.
I got a lot more. If anyone wants to speak to me after this meeting, I've got tons of pictures and a lot more violations, just what I showed you. I've got collapsed culverts. I was promised, but I've seen no paper. I have no guarantee that the culverts in my 2 driveways are going to be fixed. None. I have no guarantee that my yard is not gonna flood. I have downspouts also run to the ditch that is an issue along Summerfield Street
Terry,
for
I think,
drainage.
I think you're gonna have to stop right now because, we have other people and Penny will probably address some of those things later on.
If I was sitting on one of these chairs or your chair, this would have never happened to me. I guarantee you. I know the politics in this small town, Charlie. I've seen it, put up with it for years.
Thank you, Terry. Anybody else?
Here's the PC trencher, and I'll give this to you. This is what the trenching and crushing everything in its path.
Anybody else from the audience? Justin?
Yeah, I got some. Justin Lamar, I'm on the agenda tonight again, and I'm not really, this doesn't necessarily pertain to that because the council isn't a majority of the issue with that. But speaking on that, I got 5 minutes now. We're gonna probably request a meeting with the Historical Society just to give you guys an update and see what can be done, because I'm not gonna go through a whole business and fight with my neighbor the entire time. So if that doesn't go well, then we're probably gonna be out. That's number one. Number two, I'm not a big person to like come up here and start yelling at folks, but George, I'm gonna be honest with you, you rub me real wrong. You can't sit behind this rail and wear multiple hats in your words. Okay, that cannot happen. That's a big no. So I hope that we can clean that up. If you're behind here, you know, you're a person of the city. You are not a part of another council. When you're behind here, you gotta take your hats, you gotta leave them at home, but that's about all I got to say.
Thank you, Justin. Anybody else? Yeah. State your name and you got 5 minutes.
My name's Brian Belkey. I live on Harmon Drive and kind of piggybacking off Terry here. That whole thing of common courtesy. You got a project going on. IDOT sends a paper out. Anybody's affected, almost a whole month out. Why wasn't that done here? This is a smaller town. A resident couldn't even back out of her garage because she wasn't aware of something and she thought she did something wrong. Nobody came to her house, nobody sent a letter, nobody called her. What if she had to go to work? What if one of you guys, gals, had to go to work and couldn't get out of your garage? What do you like to do? It's unacceptable. Another thing is, if you're doing a job from start to finish, before the end of the day, the job's cleaned up. This I know because I do it all day long. If you go down Summerfield Road right now, there's mud, dirt, dust everywhere. Who's in charge of it? Who's in charge of cleaning up? Contractor, supervisor, what? Anybody tell me that? I would say the supervisor in charge of whatever third party is doing it.
Sprayers. So
How would you like to eat dust all day long? I came through here, just on the way up here, came through, broke back through from work, and it's still dusty. I even took videos of it. Cars flying up and down it, dust everywhere. The mud, it rained this weekend. All that dirt that's on these piles right next to the road came right onto the road. Half the road's covered in it. What happens when you put water on mud? Silt, nastiness. Cars drive on it. There's an insurance liability right there. Not even that, you have regular residents that are getting shit on their cars, dirty. Not even that, they're trying to go around it. People walk down that road. It's unacceptable of how this job is being done. I hate complaining, but if I'm gonna go down it and it's gonna affect me, how would you like it if it was down your road? You guys wouldn't like it very much. This town can do better, and it will do better. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody else out there? Okay, Alderperson? George?
I was really upset about the mud on that road. When I saw them digging, I was under the assumption it was gonna be bored, so we wouldn't have the mud and the dirt. To be very frank, I just washed my car when it rained, I went down there, I had mud all over my car, had to go wash it again. Now, that's one thing. I've had several communications about that. People are upset. They need to be notified when we're doing a project in this city. The residents in the area of the project need to be notified of what's going on. Because they don't necessarily come read the minutes for the council meetings. They don't watch the videos. They just come, they just wait, they're at home and all of a sudden, there's a tractor in front of their house digging a hole in the yard. It's happened several times around here, but we need to make sure that the residents are really notified when there is a job. And but I can hear it's the contractor's responsibility. Fine, then what part of the payment are we making to the contractor? That is that responsibility that we can say, you didn't do that, we're gonna withhold those funds. It's the only way we're gonna get contractors to do it. I'll be very frank, I've been pissed off all weekend over that mud and that dirt. And any other, I've seen jobs done where when the end of the workday comes along, before the end of the workday, they scrape the road. They get as much off the road as possible because it's gonna spread. And that's often in the contract to make sure that that happens so that the roads are cleared. I agree with Terry, because Terry woke me up. I was kind of groggy, but I have to agree with Terry, and I did drive close enough to look in. I can't get out and walk around.
I didn't expect you to
Okay,
walk the job site, George. I know, I said that.
I know, you told me.
I wanted you to be aware of what's going on, George.
Right.
Thank you for the comments that you've made, because they're justified. And if OSHA gets involved again in this
Okay,
town,
Terry, you had your
it's
5
gonna
minutes.
be terrible.
Terry, you had your 5 minutes. George, do you have anything else, George?
Let's see. On that, that was my big project behind was the mud on my car. Because, I'm going out of town for a couple, I want my car clean. And that was one way that it really messed it up. And I'm concerned because going around that bend, if it rains, and it's going to rain, and that mud is still there, that becomes a slick spot. And somebody can crash because there are cars that go around that bend at 40 miles an hour or more. And that's right there where it's been. So. My 2 cents. Thank you.
Any
So-
other?
On top of that right there, sorry,
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm just gonna caveat on Mr. Terry thing, cause I showed up over there, looked at everything as well. So are we gonna talk about it? Are we gonna be about it? Or we're just gonna let these contractors walk all over us again? So what are we gonna do? I guess, what are you gonna do, Mayor? To the contractors? There's a complete shit show.
Wait till they get done and let them.
Wait till- So. Why are we gonna wait till they get done? Why are we not wanting?
People usually on construction things like that, but they usually wait. I mean, I heard someone say that they. clean it
Any
up.
construction company worth of shit does not leave forks up in the air for a kid to get impaled, an adult to get impaled, so on and so forth. So we should never, ever hire this construction crew ever again, whoever the hell they are. Why are we waiting till they get done? Why are we not, I guess you or whatever department, Pat, Pennies, I don't know, whatever it is. Why are we not slamming the heck out of these people? Cause they're getting away with murder and we're paying them. They're getting paid at the end of the day when it comes down to it. And they're walking all over our circuit that we got up here again. So what are we gonna do about it? I hate the answer of, well, let's just wait till it's all done. That don't do shit.
I think we need to, who's ever controlling the site needs to be confronted and not at the end.
Tomorrow morning.
Right.
Sir, do you have the inspectors? Did you say that there is an inspector?
Pardon?
Is there an inspector on site? That should be
There's-
like watching.
He's
his
not an
job?
engineer. I got his business card. He spoke to me from day one.
Okay.
He has nothing to do with communications with the public.
Right.
Well, we need
He's
to find out
not an
who does.
engineer. He's not an engineer. He's a site manager. He signs off, takes pictures of before and after. The contractor. Air plumbing.
Yep.
Okay. I was told 4 years ago, someone got killed at their job site. Carelessness, just like what I witnessed and people in my neighborhood witnessed. Leaving those sparks set up, they took all the equipment and put it where they got everything staged over by the lift station on McHenry's Field area. But they did not take those set of sparks. Why, I don't know. It's inexcusable. If somebody would have got hurt over the weekend because of the sparks or the carelessness of the signs, the batteries, Care Plumbing would have been.
We just need to find out who the site supervisor is there, Mayor. That's what we need to find.
I know.
We'll get that from you after this,
I
Mr.
got
Kyle,
his card.
and we need to
He's
give.
a good individual, don't get me wrong, but it's not in his control to change. He had nothing to do with the change order. He's not an engineer. He's just somebody there,
He's working for the engineer.
he's working for him, exactly. TWM.
And then my question to you is, who would, for us as like the city, who should be overseeing this project as it goes along? Is that something now that, that they should be watching over, the sewer and water department should be watching over? Is this like a street department? You know what I mean? Like, is there, or is that?
Kenny, do you want to say something about that?
I mean, I've had people out there most all day today. We were out there on Saturday once the police were called and said the forks were sticking up, and I went out there, looked at the job, saw the forks. So I decided, you know, I'm not gonna get the contractor out there on the weekend, probably as quickly as I can just move them. So we are paying the person he's talking about, Jeff Gavert, who is working for TWM. We pay him as a site contact, as a person to look over the project, make sure things are being put in per the engineer's specs. So everything that is being put in is being put in per the specs. He's watching it. He's making sure that it is going in like it should be. When I went out there initially on Saturday morning, what I saw was that the ditch was left with too much dirt in it. I didn't think at the time that the road looked bad for a construction project. Could they have swept it? Yes, they could have. However, they did clean most of the dirt off the road. What was driven over, you know, stuck to the road and did not come off from them scraping with the backhoe. Backhoe, you know, there's a crown in the road, so it was hard to get some of that off. Talked with them today, you know, said, will you be through with that area today? If you will, then, you know, can you get cleaned up better? We need to get the dirt out of the ditch so that the water can flow. He's got, one culvert that was damaged from the trencher. They're aware of that. They know they're gonna fix it tomorrow. I have an email, or I'm sorry, not an email, a text from them. Their person on the job who was their supervisor today was Braden. His name was Braden. He texted me at the end of the day, said they plan to fix that culvert tomorrow. And I sent him another text back saying, please make sure that the ditches are cleaned out as well with rain coming. I've never been on a project where they have made that dirt completely flat. Maybe it happens. I mean, I don't see a ton of projects here, but I have seen a lot over the number of years I've been here. They always leave dirt to settle so that, because if they scrape it off in the next week, that's gonna settle when it rains, and then they're gonna be bringing dirt back in to put back over there. Then you're gonna have dirt tracked in again. So I didn't think it was uncommon for them to leave the dirt pile up there. The forks were a big issue, like I said, we moved those. I was unaware, I don't know what Jerry's talking about the batteries, we didn't talk about any batteries with the barricades or whatever, but you and I didn't talk about that this morning. But like I said, we are paying someone to be out there to watch the project. I myself was out there when I couldn't be there. We had an OSHA meeting up here today, so we were up here for some training. So I let that from Jeff from TWM, know that we were gonna be gone for a few hours. As soon as we were done, we had people back out there watching the project, taking pictures. Jeff's other job out there is to get GPS locations for the, anytime there's an angle, anytime that there's, hiking along the way, he takes every 100 feet a shot, so we'll have a location for that in the future, which we don't have on old lines. So that's about all I have to say about it right now. And I will say something about notifying the public. We have not done that in the past. Would it be a good idea? Yes. Is that something the contractor does? No. Same with the McAllister Street project, which is a huge construction project right now. I don't think letters were sent out for that either. There's a lot more destruction down there than what we have out here. Not that that makes it any better. But if we need to make a policy to send those, then let's make a policy to say, hey, on every construction project we do, we're gonna send notification out. That project has been bid for months and months. It just obviously took till the spring here to get it going. And we don't determine when that project starts. That's kind of on contractor. They had till the end of this year to finish actually before our funding is out of that window, but I said if that's what the council wants, which would be a good idea, I think, for projects to notify so that people would know. That probably would not have answered all the questions, that it probably wouldn't have stopped Twyla from being blocked in her driveway. Should the contractor have made sure that somebody didn't need to get out of there? Absolutely. We had even talked about that before they started, so I went up to Terry and told him, but I did not go to Twyla's. The other part was board, so there was still even at 3:30 today, 3:15, there was someone who went down the road, couldn't figure out how to get in there, just because of the equipment that was all there. And, we talked, she was perfectly fine with, oh, you're fine. I just wasn't sure how I was supposed to get around. So that was taken care of. I think that, everything was smooth by the end of the day, other than, I know Terry's not happy with, the digging in his yard.
Sure. Thank you, Melissa.
And Kenny, you might want to reiterate that the project was done within the city right away. It's not
Yes,
like you
we
got
did.
willy-nilly in somebody's yard.
Right, the city right of way actually extends probably another, it's at least 5 foot beyond where they're digging now. It might be more 10 foot, but it still doesn't, I mean, if it's your yard, you thought it was your yard this whole time and you've been taking care of it. Terry's got nice grass in his yard, and I keep assuring him that it will be put back. The contract says it will be put back as close to, its original state. There's pictures all along there from before the project started, so if anything was damaged, we could know that it was damaged and force the contractor to fix that before we give them their money.
Thanks, Ben. Hang on, I got to get Linda first.
Well, this is changing the subject, but I had a resident to complain about Union Street. They said a tree limb fell and 2 city workers with an empty truck came by. They got out of the truck. They looked at the limb. They left the limb and went on about their business. They couldn't understand why they didn't just take the limb. If the truck was empty. So. Well, I don't know, because I didn't see. I know it's talking about, it was too big. Oh, okay. Can I please send you sorry? Thank you, ma'am. And we're having a lot of mowing since we're in the grass cutting business. Not only should the brick street look good, but I think the whole town should look good. And, with the construction down in Ward 2, and we also have overgrown lots, which people seem to forget that they own. I think that we need to start charging them for, cutting those lots.
So on the lots, what happens is, on the warning, we give them ample time via letter.
Sample time.
Well,
Also,
no, it's 8 inches is the ordinance. And our
I know
inspector
that.
sends that letter. At that point in time, they receive it. A lot of times they're actually out of the state of Illinois. So what happens is you give them time to hire somebody to come out and cut it. The way this weather's been the last 2 to 3 weeks, if you miss a couple days, you're gonna miss a week. So obviously, I'm not condoning 8-inch plus grass, but the letters go out. And then at some point in time, the street department mows the grass. And I can tell you that we're delivering liens on these properties after we mow the grass. I delivered 11. So the easiest thing is mow your grass. Hire a kid, hire somebody, mow the grass, get it done. And if somebody can't do it, then they need to look for somebody, or the city will come up and do it at some point in time. And it happens in every city. But it's being addressed.
okay, because I know, last summer when, Ameren cut down that tree down there on, Fourth and Cherry Street. And all that grass was, I guess it was mowed. I don't know who did it, but it looked really nice. You could see around the corner where it's getting back to that point. It's getting pretty tall again. So, it needs to be tended to. Now, I know that individual lives out of town, but it's not that far out of town that he doesn't know that his grass needs cutting. And he's out here periodically, so I don't understand what the problem is. And I feel like if you start hitting these people with fines, maybe they'll start cutting their grass.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Anybody else in here?
One more quick question about the job there. So part of the project, they were boring it, and now they're trenching it. Is there a reason why they stopped boring and went to trenching?
What they did, I'll answer that now. What they did was I went out there on Saturday because Mr. Weil called me or whatever. They started up near the apartments across from the cemetery on Summerfield, Harmon Drive, whatever it is there. They were already going west. They were down near Terry's house. And Penny had me sign a work order change. That was Friday, wasn't it, Penny, I think? To bore, but the boring was not for the whole project. The boring was for Hunter Street, the corner there to the south down by the lift station.
So it was only bid out for part of the project to bore, and then the other part of the
Right.
project was supposed to be trenched.
No, it was bid at, the bid price was for trenching the entire project.
Gotcha.
And they could have on their own dime decided to bore it if they wanted to. If the contractor had chose to, like, we don't wanna, deal with repairing the yards, we're just gonna bore the whole thing. They could have chose to do that on their dime. So if we choose to tell them we want it bored, then we are paying for that. The difference, I think, was $32 a foot to $65 a foot.
You want to tell him the reason why it was, did the boring down Hunter because all the, the driveways and everything down
Yeah,
there?
they're, Terry's driveway is in there too, that's not, but where Terry's house is on Summerfield, and on Summerfield, where their trenching is right at the edge of the road. So they're not up in the middle of the yards, where they were going to trench on the Hunter Street side was up probably, I'm gonna say 5-7 foot in the yard, I don't know exactly, I didn't measure it. But where all the stakes were exactly where the force main was gonna go. So when we first went over to look at it, and I was with Jeff, the person who was doing the construction observation, and we talked about where it was and said, are they planning to open cut this? He said, yes. They're gonna cut the whole thing. We had Hair come up there and said, yes, we've been told to, go open cut the whole thing. We're not boring anything. I looked at it, I said, they're cutting right through the middle of an asphalt driveway right to begin with. So, and Charlie said, hey, they're gonna be cutting right through all the middle of these driveways. This is the price to change that to have it bored. He agreed that that was a good idea, so we bored that portion of the project.
I'll give you one more minute, Terry. Make it quick.
They trenched across the corner of my front yard, not just around the ditch. They went across the corner between my oak tree that I planted many years ago when I first moved there. They cut across between the street sign and the stop sign and the oak tree. And yes, and they dug a huge hole right in front of my mailbox.
Penny,
And-
that was still within the right of way though, correct?
It
But
is,
my-
and the reason that is
I
open
know.
cut, it's not trenched there, it is open cut there on the corner.
Right,
And the reason that is open cut in a large hole is because there has to be 2 45-degree angles put there to navigate the corner. So they can't bore in a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle, whatever the angle is, they have to put a connection there, which requires the hole.
and then I think the gas line was right there in close proximity.
Yeah,
with
the
it.
gas line is there as well.
The point I want to make, I was lied to after we spoke. Then there was a change order on Friday. I'd already talked to her twice. On Friday, the change order, the job had already started. They were already trenching along Summerfield Street on Friday when the change order was made to go Hunter Street. I feel, myself and my neighbor of mine that lives along Summerfield Street, adjoining my backyard. I think we were, treated very unfairly. Very unfairly by this city of them making this decision. I don't care what they do up by the college, but in our neighborhood, right in our yard, my downspouts aren't gonna drain now because the ditches are full of dirt. My downspouts are gonna back up. There's a possibility of my patio flooding. There's a possibility of my crawl space flooding. What, nobody's given me any paperwork, nothing. All there is talk. They're gonna fix this, they're gonna fix that. And there was more damage done to more than just one culvert. There's 2 culverts. I had 2 driveways. And the concrete that was around those culverts got broke up by that large trencher that I showed you pictures of. So that's gone.
Amber,
What's your name, Mr. Wiley?
Mr. Y, Terry,
Wiles.
Y,
Wild.
W-E-I-L, Terry. My name's Terry. You-
Terry, Mr. Terry. I just personally from you, I think you should just relax. I'm sorry, and I.
Relaxed all my life living
Sorry.
here.
Sorry, hold on. And I'm not saying that in a like derogatory way. I understand that they're doing some work around your house, but it's gonna be fixed. That dirt is probably.
If you were lied
You
to,
could let me talk,
by 2
please. I
city
didn't say
individuals.
anything when you talk. I didn't say a word. Okay? The ditch, where the dirt is in the ditch, I'm pretty sure they're gonna fix that before the end of the project. I'm pretty sure they're gonna fix the other things that, I think she said there was damage on the, oh, yes. I'm pretty sure they're gonna fix, they're not gonna leave it like that. They're right in the middle of a project right now. And I think you should just relax. I grew up in this town. I'm just gonna say this real quick. I grew up here. And I had the best childhood because everybody stuck together. It's a little bitty town. I love that. I love going down the street and knowing this person and that person and, hey, Amber, how are you doing? You know, I love that. I remember graduating from high school and I could not wait to get out of this town. I was just like, I want to go to St. Louis and be a city girl, you know, and live right above the coffee shops and all that stuff. And I did. I didn't have any children. I got married. And we, we lived the fast life, but as soon as I had that first child, I said, I have to go back home. Because my children are going to be raised in an environment in a city that, we're not supposed to be nitpicking. I understand that you're upset about your yard, but the project's not over. It's not over. I don't want it to sound like we're like spoiled high school girls and you just no offense, George, but your car is dirty, wash it. I don't understand that. I'm sorry. And we'll come over your house and help you wash it. I would not take so much of my time to complain about something like that. Everything, I think we should just relax, okay? Take a chill pill. We'll see what happens now. Once the project is over, yes, I do agree that we should let the residents know that we're about to do a project. I get that. But let's just wait until after everything is over, and then, Mr. Terry, at that time, if you're, the ditch and the whatever needs to be fixed, then I understand. But right now, let's just relax.
Okay.
I'm just
We got-
gonna
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I get,
Real quick.
just real quick, I had two things that are kind of like, they're small, but the lights down on Route 4 the other morning, I think it was last week, one day, I don't remember the day. But two kids came to it and hit the button, they did not go on, and I physically watched them hit the button, and those lights still are not working all the time.
I second that.
So, and one of them was on a hoverboard, and it was his own fault, because he was sitting there rocking back and forth, and there was a dump truck coming. Maybe pucker a little bit, not gonna lie. So that's one, and then two, as much as I don't wanna complain about it, I'm going to, because I think it's ridiculous. That crosswalk structure that's down by Route 4, that thing needs to get moved back about 5 to 10 feet. Like being on the corner there, you gotta put the nose of your car damn near in the oncoming traffic. And I know the school probably did it, and I know it was donated, and I don't wanna like say, oh, it's a bad thing, but it is a bad thing. Like that thing it obstructs your view big time there. Personally. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
Where the cross guards stand in the ramp.
Thank you,
Box.
Terry, one more minute, and that's it, man.
Just in the back camera.
Okay.
If anybody else would have put something like that in the corner of, then create an accident or something, it'd be a big deal about it. It's because it's the school districts that doesn't give them permission to put something right on the street corner. It's at both ends on Chute Street.
Okay.
At least there's a stop sign, like, I mean, the other one's a little bit more
Hey,
manageable.
you guys, we really got to move on. Paul's gonna look into that, he said. Okay, all right, let's move on, committee reports. Streets and alleys.
Nothing, meet on the 2nd of June.
Okay, finance, Mike.
Nothing, meet on the 16th.
Okay, George, ordinance.
I'm sorry, but we got a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We'll be meeting on June the 2nd, but we were catching up on some things right now. Do we need motions for each of these? I think we
Yeah.
see them. Okay.
I think each one would.
Yeah, because we didn't have the documents at the committee meeting.
Okay. Yeah, some of these were brought, like, were holdover things that were brought up to me
Right.
that I just tried to get done for today's,
Yeah, we didn't,
because some of these had already been voted on before I was even here, so.
when they're written, when we have the written resolution or whatever at the committee meeting, then we don't have to do the motion. So I will move approval of the resolution approving the appointment of Lou Ann Holter.
Second. Second, who's that? Darren?
I thought,
Discussion? Okay.
I thought we didn't have no money.
This is the resolution, I believe, paying her through the May 31st that was already approved. So that I think this states, if I read it correctly, it is from the date of May 1st through May 31st. Anything beyond that would have to be voted on, and I would assume since it's not on the agenda night and that's Thursday, we won't be
Oh,
extending
I
it.
thought we would pass that.
No, the 4-week
This
date is Thursday.
Oh, okay.
This is the official document that.
Okay,
authorizes.
George, she already explained it.
Okay, George, you want to move on to number two?
We,
Okay, yeah, roll call. Yeah, roll call, please.
Barrow,
Number one.
yes,
Marcinkowski,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish.
Yes.
Okay, George, you want to move on to number two?
number two is I'm gonna move approval of the resolution, making separate statement of findings of fact in connection with ordinance granting special use permit to Ellen Leaf to operate a home business at 425 West Main Street in a residential zoning district.
Need a second
Um,
discussion?
yeah, I think the wrong business name is on there. For, Live With Us, it shouldn't be on there.
Live With Us was not in that one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Number two.
It says it is, so I think you're right.
Too.
Oh,
Oh, you mean in the actual
It
resolution?
says Ellen's name and then the business name is Live With Us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It that just needs to be
Yeah,
retracted
just,
from that.
yeah, just have to motion to track that portion of the resolution. I was trying to do it while I was out of the office, and so.
Still need a second on number two.
Okay, what about?
only a second so we can discuss it and make that change.
Okay, second.
Okay. Since there is an error in the resolution, I move that error be corrected.
Second.
And then, yeah. Motion to second.
Did you second that one?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
So we're,
Any more-
sorry, go ahead.
No, any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
This is a roll call for the amendment to the
Correct.
resolution. Okay.
Marcinkowski,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Barrow.
Yes,
Hey, George, your number three there?
no, we got to do a roll call on the motion.
As amended.
As amended.
Okay, as amended, will be Smith,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yeah.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes.
Marcinkowski.
Yes.
Okay, number three, presenting for, I am moving approval of the ordinance granting a special use permit to Ellen Lee for a home business in residential zoning district.
Might need to submit that review.
Does that have the same error?
Isn't that the same?
This is an
No, this is an
ordinance.
Does it have the same error though, George?
So,
I'm gonna look right now.
Yes.
I didn't see all that.
No, that one's okay.
Okay, we need a second on that.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, roll call?
Smith,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Belkey,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes,
Marcinkowski.
Yes.
okay, number four. I'm moving approval of the resolution making a separate statement on finding of fact in connection with the, I lost my line. There, in connection with the ordinance granting special use permit to Live With Us LLC for a mixed-use business and reduced number of off-street parking spots in the C2 zoning district.
Need a second on that, right?
And
Yeah.
that's a second.
Second.
Like,
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Bennett.
Here.
Alright, you did that.
I don't even have to vote on it. So I do want to explain something on this one because I represented you that I thought we could switch this to a variance. However, part of that was my unfamiliarity with the way our code is set up because our code has a very different process for variances as it does from special use permits, which means according to the code, variances have to go through the zoning board of appeal, not through the plan commission. So because of that, I hoped that based on other communities that I've worked with, that it was the same process and that would be an easy kind of thing that I knew it. But that's why I put together the resolution and the ordinance granting the special use permit, because that would theoretically at least allow them to have that set up, but understanding that I know there was a concern about wanting it to be a variance.
I don't want a special.
But the idea was a special use permit would allow it short term to go through and do the variance projects or whatever needed to be done, but obviously.
So you're suggesting that we remove items 4 and 5 from consideration tonight?
If he's asking to.
I have, like, I said this from the very beginning, when I stood up here at the desk a million times, I don't want a special use. I didn't want it mailed out that I wanted a special use. I asked for what process I needed to go through in order to do what I wanted to do, and I specifically said it needed to be a variance, because I'm not getting into the boat of when I want to, if I need to sell this. I have no desire, like, right now, I have no inclination to sell it. However, we all don't know how life goes. And so if that needs to happen, being a special use, the next person is gonna have to come up here and do the exact same process that I have to do with I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but there is a chance that the current council that would be, or the future council, I should say, that would be up here could strike that thing down, or the plan commission, the appeals, all of that stuff would be not go through. And so now I'm stuck with a property that's worthless. He's already doing that right now. I'm not doing that. So.
So let's withdraw the motion.
You need a motion to get rid of number
Which is a whole nother problem, by the way, like, because I paid money for that to go out and it did not go out correctly. So I'm not happy about that either.
Do we need a motion to?
Probably the best way to handle it would be to have a motion to accept the request to withdraw the permit the special use permit application. And then based on that, items.
My funds to go towards that.
4 and 5 would then be withdrawn.
Okay, I will move to withdraw I will move to trying to think the language you want. You need.
To accept
So,
the
yeah,
request
I'll
to
move to
withdraw.
accept the owner's request to not do special use permit.
I said it 1,000 times.
I'll second it. Second, Mike. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Washington don't want.
Yeah.
The whole problem. Belkey.
So you don't really need, you don't want this, you need to know. You don't want yes.
No, I don't care what you guys do. I'm gonna be honest, like,
right.
but my problem is like, so you have to pay, it's small in comparison, but it's like $110.
Yeah.
To have all that sent out to the resident, and
Understood.
it went out as a special use.
Yes, sir.
And so now I'm gonna have to go back, and now I'm looking at probably bare minimum 6+ weeks. And even to try to get this, and I've been up here at every single meeting,
Yeah.
plan commission
Oh,
up
I know you
here.
have, yeah.
And it's frustrating as all hell, just to
Yeah.
let y'all know. But it starts right here, and I know that it's a new person, but that's where it
He
started.
said
And I said it 1,000.
He didn't want special.
I said it in the plan when it came out on the agenda, but it came out and I saw the listing. And I said something then, and like, we think that we can keep, oh, it'll be all right, it'll be all right. No, hell no, it's not gonna be okay, because when it comes down to it, like, whatever's on paper is what's gonna count, you know what I mean? And I'm been in some situations, especially with some special use, that I'm not doing it again.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, Sean.
Variance.
Motion is to remove these
Wait a minute,
essentially.
can we
remove these items.
do that?
Unfortunately, can't.
No, because technically the way our code works, all variances go through the zoning board of appeals. It does not even give any discretion to this council.
So we can't give them a variance.
No, I had hoped that I could find a way to do that, but I couldn't, with the way it's set up, there's not a way for you guys. Like, if there had been an override process or something like that, we could have.
And I understand that, but like at some point, that whole accountability thing that we've been talking about all day and night.
Yes, sir.
It has to happen, and like, you can't let your personal like beliefs on what you want on this brick road or what you want in this town. When you sit and you take a public servant job, like you have to look at your job description and you have to say, okay, my job is to take people that come up here and that's why we have variances. It's not allowed right now currently or whatever, but that's why we're going through these processes. And to put somebody on an agenda that I don't need to be at, that I requested, like I said it like 50 times to her. It's so frustrating. And like I said, you have no problem taking the little bit amount of money and then finally getting it out, which is a whole nother thing. Cause that was like pulling teeth to make sure that she put it in the paper. And then when it comes out in the paper, it's not the right thing.
So I'm voting right now for the withdrawal.
Correct.
Yes.
I am too.
Bennett,
Change your mind.
well,
No, it's yes.
you already said
You
yes.
said yes already.
You already voted.
You're good.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes,
Marcinkowski,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Okay, that's it, yep.
Hey, George, number 6.
so going to item 6. I'd like to move an ordinance granting special use permit with conditions to Amy Pop to keep cows, chickens, and goats in the SR3 Single Use Family Residential District at 218 North Herman Street.
What?
Yeah,
Not a business.
if I get a second, I'll explain all that.
Second, anybody second it?
Keep cows, chickens, and goats.
Second?
We have a second.
This is a property that already had this special use permit, but that special use permit, when the council approved it, about 6 years ago, when it was approved, there was a deadline put on it. There was in other words, it went away after so many years. Well, it went away this year and they need to have it reapproved. This is actually a reapproval, but this reapproval is as long as they own the property. It's different from the first one.
Any more discussion?
Now, if she can have cows, chicken, and goat, what if somebody else wants?
Where, if somebody else wants to, they'd have to come to us for a special use. This particular property should have been agricultural, but it's not. It was probably at one time agricultural. They decided to put a residence on it, turn it into SR3. Now they want a special use so they can utilize their land for the agricultural uses that would have been automatic under agricultural zoning.
And they had a neighbor come in, he said he was fine with it.
Oh, the neighbor said he's fine with it. It's nobody goes there. It's very remote. It's not a place where and there's not a lot of traffic. There aren't a lot of residents in that area. It is a rural area of the city.
And it's basically a floodplain too.
Pardon me?
Pastures in a floodplain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And right, most of the land is in a floodplain. Can't be built on it.
Why?
No, on Elm Street. Pass the line. And by the way, a good reminder is the property is in the floodplain. You can't build on it.
Yeah, this is one that was, the plan commission presented at the last meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys approved to proceed to the ordinance, so this
Right.
is just the ordinance.
This is the ordinance part of it.
RJ, you gave a second. Right, yeah. Any more discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Belkey,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes, with one condition. They give us free milk.
Sorry, Charlie.
Cornish,
I love goats, yes.
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Marcinkowski,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
That's it.
Mhm.
Number seven.
Okay, number seven, and the last
There you
one
go.
here. I will make,
There where the grass is too high.
I move approval of of the ordinance changing the name of True Value Drive to Schleifer Drive. Schleifer Drive.
Second, yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Lou Schleifer.
Schleifer owns True Value, or owns the Prescriptions Plus.
We did the motion in a second.
No, I think that's the guy that owns True Value.
And you got a second, who gave a second? No, three of that.
Belkey was that.
Okay, well, I get three or four. Just want to move on.
That's
Okay. Any discussion on that anymore? Okay, roll call, please.
Bennett,
Yes.
Cornish,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes.
Marcinkowski,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Belkey.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, the water sewer, Pat's not here tonight. So cemetery, RJ,
Wait, 1 second.
okay, health and safety, Linda.
Let me see what I got. Oh, on May the 20th, Sean and I met with John Novak and Charles Kelly of MedStar. Before the meeting started, Charles asked for copies of the amendment to the contract. I didn't know there was amendments,
Did you?
and,
No.
Okay.
Luann dug around and she found us some copies. I'll give you copies of those too.
Linda, I had given Luke a copy of the 2017.
The, service agreement,
The contract.
okay. Well, this contract. Something from 2012, I got 209 and all kind of.
The last version I had seen was from 2007.
Oh,
And
that's
that was,
old.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, I
That
got
was-
one from 209. So I'll give you copies of these after the meeting. But, he also said that, there was different acronyms that needed to go into the contract, so by saying he, I mean Charles Kelly. And that he would make those changes and he's gonna give the contract back to me. And then I'll give it to you, Mayor, when you go over and you can give it to the attorney.
You still need those in, Luke, with that 2017, one I gave you.
I'll take a look at what she has just to make sure. It's, if 2017 is the latest version, that takes the other one. So, and I know we have that star as a discussion item. It's wrong, so.
But I think what it was kind of a rollover renewal in 2017.
Well, no. And that's part of the problem is that the original, the last contract I have is from 2017 that went through 2021. And when I talked to the former attorney, he seemed to indicate he thought it was on a rolling basis. I couldn't find that in the original contract, so I'm not entirely sure what the status of that is. If there is no contract at this point, then we probably do need to figure out if we want to proceed with negotiating a new contract and how that's going to work. That's kind of the limbo, so to speak, as far as what I understand the status of the MedStar contract to be.
Okay. Okay, Amber, you got anything, public property?
No, sir. We meet on again on June the 2nd, 2025 at 6:30.
Okay. Arnie, you got anything with personnel?
So. Nothing fun to see you, Dick.
No. Okay,
June the 16th, 2025.
okay. Paul, you got anything?
I have nothing.
Hey, Jessica, you got anything?
I do. So we've been talking about the grocery tax. And I had a meeting with the state today for about an hour and a half. That was very educational. So a couple things I want to clear up. The original, literature that we received said that it was a $1.2 million is what the municipality was receiving. That was a miscommunication. That is what up to what some cities are going to experience by this going away. As we've talked about, they've implemented that the local level, we can pass a 1% grocery tax. My question was, and what I was trying to do research on is how much has the city of Lebanon been receiving in grocery tax a year? That is not an answer they can give us. So apparently there was communication sent to the city of Lebanon in April of last year that kind of came out on this and said that when we receive money from the state, it is a statement of sales tax and it encompasses all of the different taxes in one lump sum payment. They do not give an itemized statement within that because the example that they gave me, for example, at True Value, or Ace Hardware now, when you go down there, there are prescriptions, there's lawn care stuff, and there's groceries. Each of those are taxed at different rates. However, when they have to report to the state on the taxing end, they don't make them itemize in specifically how much of each item was sold. They just give them a total of what they have to pay in. And so the state doesn't even have it of what we're collecting in just grocery tax. So then I asked, well, is there a way for us to see then what that total tax is that first Ace Hardware is paying, Dollar General is paying, and the grocery store is paying? Because I thought that would give us kind of a general idea. There is paperwork that is supposed to be filed with the state that has not been filed properly with the state since 2021. So we do not have access to those reports, and we cannot get access to them until I go through the process to get our name cleared and get it refiled to be able to have access again. I initiated that process today when I had the meeting with them. They sent me all the steps. Even when we get that information though, the only people that are allowed to see the specifics of what each individual business is paying is the mayor, myself, and then anybody that the mayor deems as part of the finance employment. So if he wants Michelle to have access, but that is protected information we can't share in council as to specifics of what each business is paying. So in summary, we're never gonna know what we're receiving in the 1% grocery tax. And even if we do get to the point within the next couple months, I can get this all cleared up and we can know what, like a ballpark of what we're receiving from different stores, I can't share it. So essentially, I would recommend that council moves forward with putting on the agenda and just deciding, are we going to replace the 1% tax that the state took away? Are we gonna replace it with our own? Or are we gonna just take that and not have it and then lose that revenue? I am going to try and see if I can get you guys totals on what the sales tax revenue is, just so you can kind of see the big number. But like I said, that's everything. That's gonna include RPs and everything. So it's gonna be hard to really know what the grocery store tax is within that. Does anybody have any questions? Does that help clear up some of the information on the things you guys were asking?
And George had asked me to prepare that ordinance for his committee meeting. So my goal is to have it for them.
We get that ordinance, because regardless of what happens, we can't afford to lose 1% of anything. So we need to do that ordinance.
So the state still does all the logistics of getting the money and somehow sending it back to us. but
Yeah,
it's
which
not
I
there.
think that was kind of made me uncomfortable, because like the state gets this information, but like we're not privileged to know. So there's no checks and balances for us to be able to say like, is the state sending everything that's like we're entitled to? there's not really a way for me to challenge that. Now, I don't know what all the reports are gonna show as far as details per business. Whenever I get access to those, I can share to you guys on what information generally is within those reports. But the city itself has not seen one of those since 2020, and we've let our access go in 2021.
So I get it as far as the information, but I guess I'm asking now. The state still does all the work of collecting this money and then sending it back to us, but now it's just. We're just naming it as our tax rather than the state's tax.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
That's the way I understand it.
You have something, Justin?
When does the tax like end, the grocery tax
January 1st
of this year? So there's no way. Yeah.
No, Jan-
of January 1st of
So the
26.
consumer's not gonna know the difference.
no,
No,
So this-
yeah,
this-
it's
this is
gonna
like this
literally be a replacement. Yeah, and it's 1% of the total sale, so it's not something that's gonna be drastic. I know a couple residents had reached out to me and asked if I thought that it would give us a competitive advantage with looking for a new grocery store. If, you know, if it would be cheaper to buy groceries here because we don't have a grocery tax. It's 1%. If it was more than that, then maybe you could use that as leverage, but after digging into it, with it being 1%, I don't really think it's gonna give us a competitive advantage with people stopping at our grocery store. And I will tell you, there are 60, I believe she told me there were 64 municipalities that have passed the 1%, but they are expecting a lot more that were waiting until a new administration got in May 1st, that they're expecting a lot more municipalities to finalize that between the next coming months.
That it?
I think so, unless, is that all the questions?
Okay, thank you, Jess. Okay, I have something to read that Stephanie gave me. Says we are now accepting applications for our business district grant program. If you own or rent a commercial property in the business district, you may be eligible for a City of Lebanon Business District grant. The City of Lebanon Business District Grant Program provides financial assistance to property owners or tenants seeking to renovate, restore, and improve commercial buildings located within the city's business development district. If approved, the applicants could receive up to 50% reimbursement of eligible project costs up to a maximum of $10,000. You can find more information and a map of the district on our website under the Business and Economic Development page, or contact Stephanie or Michelle at City Hall. We have a news section on the website. On the home page, near the bottom of the page is a section for news and announcements. Also, if you have our Voice Lebanon app, you can click on news and announcements. If you would like these news briefs sent directly to your inbox, you can go to our website under resources tab and choose subscribe to notification. Website is still a work in progress. We're working on updating everything and adding features we think will be beneficial to the community. We are also working on sharing more information with the local newspapers, the O'Fallon Weekly and the Mosquito Herald. That's all I've got. Okay, go to the department heads, chief.
Or request, just working to, once you guys make up your mind, if you're gonna stay with MedStar or gonna or what have you, I'd like to be a little privy for the vote on it. I'm looking for two specific things. Response time
Oh,
and
yeah,
availability.
I asked them about that. And right now, they're just swamped. And they
Trust me,
said,
I get it, I
well,
get it, but just in the contract, if it would become a continuous problem, we need as a city to be able to hold them accountable.
Yes.
Okay, that's just, that'd be on the attorney and the mayor. But those two specific things, we need to look at very carefully. That's all I'm
Okay.
asking. That's all.
Is that all you got? Okay, is Kobe back there?
It's not, he's
No.
a firefighter.
That's right, yeah. Okay, Penny, you got anything?
Only that we had, excuse me, we had our first of 3 safety meeting trainings with Department of Labor today, with the streets and alleys, water and sewer, and the admin. First start, I think it went okay. It's a little, what they were wanting was a little different than what Cody and I thought they were wanting, so that is now headed more in the direction they want. I think they were looking for more of a safety meeting rather than a training. Got a lot of information and we'll move forward with the next 2. We also have a June the 30th, we have a OSHA 101 training put on by them being the Department of Labor, which is, we're hosting 10 to 15, which say 15 you sent out, Jarvis?
Yeah, it's not 15.
15 other communities, which is also part of our initial conversation with Department of Labor to get some remediation. So that will be June the 20th, or June the 30th, I'm sorry, from 10 to 12. And it'll be held at the State Hall, UCC, at their hall there. If anybody's interested in coming and seeing what that is like, just let me know so I know you're mark you down for a seat.
That it?
Yep.
Okay, the inspector's not here, so we'll move on to unfinished business. Update on Creekside the other night. At the committee meeting, I gave a kind of an update on that all the permits, the bond and everything have been sent to Tara McLaren at IDOT. So it's in IDOT's hands right now.
And I have not gotten, it's on me to get the economic consent agreement drafted. I just have not had time to get that done. Oh, that was on me.
So that they're ready to dig and everything then, right?
Everything is.
I just want
Yeah.
publicly to be, because there
Right.
was some communication on Facebook. I'm sure if you guys follow the social media and the new Lebanon in the Minute. It sounded like there was some more communication issues as far as the permit, but it's been sent off to IDOT.
Yeah.
We've done our part and it is no longer in our hands as far as that
Yeah,
ends,
We're
right?
just waiting on IDOT now.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make
They
sure that
can't, they
was clear.
can't, they can't dig today, they gotta wait for IDOT, but it's out of our.
We can't do anything with that. Okay, so we're just, the agreement there we're working on, but, okay.
I believe that Creekside is like waiting, like they have put items up to the highway. So once that permit goes through, which I was told would initially was gonna take 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. I think they would, I mean, they know it was there, so hopefully it'll go a little quicker and probably be able to get across there.
Okay.
Hopefully before the field is planted, or there'll be another problem.
Number 2, discussion of fireworks sales and possible referral to ordinance committee.
This one's me.
Are you? Okay.
So at the last meeting, the planning commission, or the plan commission, sorry, had made a recommendation to add sales for fireworks in a C2 or C1 in one of the commercial districts. In looking at that and what had been submitted by the plan commission, there is a legal issue that goes with that beyond what was recommended. That right now, the state law prohibits the sale of consumer fireworks except through authorized retailers. And authorized retailers is regulated by the state fire marshal and everything like that. We don't have anything to do with that. But it has to be a sale by an authorized retailer to a person that holds a permit to do a consumer display. Don't ask me, I didn't come up with it. That's what the law requires. The ability to have a consumer display permit is then placed on each municipality to come up with the rules and regulations for authorizing a consumer permit. If no such rules and regulations are put into effect, basically, there's no allowance for the sale of consumer fireworks because no one is technically authorized to have a consumer display. There are certain things that are not, they're not fireworks for purposes of that statute. Those things include like your, the smoke bombs, the pops, the snakes, those kinds of things. And then there's obviously the ones that are professional grade ones that are also excluded from that. Those, and then there's also certain ones that are completely banned altogether, which are like Roman candles, bottle rockets, things like that. So what I had wanted to do, and I've talked to George and I've talked to RJ, I've talked to the mayor, is have a discussion about, what the council would like to do, as far as allowing or permitting those consumer displays. There's a couple of different options. The hard part is that whatever we do, I'd have to draft for Georgia's committee to then be referred back to us for the next one, which would be the first meeting in June. If we add the zoning issue, if we add it to the zoning, it's likely going to be as a special use permit, which then I don't know that it gets done in time for this year's 4th of July. In looking, because we can pass the code and stuff to allow for the permitting, but I'm not sure that we can, at this point, get it to where a retailer would be authorized to sell based on getting approval under the zoning code. I'm willing to do what you guys want to do. As far as the options for the permitting of the consumer display, I've not looked all the way into it. I know there's some communities that maybe have their codes are not real clear as to permitting for consumer displays. Some that I've done have been very detailed about, having site inspections and things like that and regulations about that and whether or not you have a permit fee for each of those things and all of that kind of stuff. There's the option of saying, if you're a legal resident of Lebanon, then you're automatically granted a consumer display permit. And so basically at that point, their driver's license or voter registration card would be their consumer display. You can hybrid it a little bit and say, as long as they're purchasing less than, say, 10 items, or they're not going to ignite or whatever word we want to use more than 10, then they're permitted. Anything more than 10, they have to have a special registration with the city and all those kinds of things. But obviously, given our time frame, it's a little hard to get it done in time for this 4th of July. Now, the last issue to go with that is there is pending in the state of Illinois a bill to amend that statute altogether, which would completely remove the consumer display permit requirements and would generally make the sale and purchase of consumer grade legal. The only problem is that it's not passed and it would not take effect until 2026. So. Any questions?
Yeah, I got one. So basically, the way I understand what you just said, nobody from an outside town could come here and purchase here. Or would you accept wherever they're buying or wherever they're taking them to, would you accept the permit from another town?
So if they're,
or what if they live outside of city limits?
They would have to have a consumer display permit for wherever they intended to shoot them off. Now, obviously, as far as law enforcement and those kinds of things, going out and checking permits, especially on the 4th of July, is not likely going to happen.
It's not.
One of the other.
Don't give me. Missouri to give me some fireworks.
Yeah.
But I wanna go to his place to get fireworks.
I'd just like to remind you, some of you may not know this, but back when I started in 15, they were selling
Yep.
down there.
Yep.
And there was people coming from
Heck yeah, they were.
all over the place, and they had a heck of a business. There was
And all of this came about because of a law change. It's changed first in 19, and then they amended some of the regulations in the code in 21. So all of that came from the state. Now, the other thing you can do is also regulate the times, the duration when sales can happen, like how far in front of Fourth of July, how far behind. And also you can say, we're gonna allow fireworks from on these days from this time to this time, but if it's done after 11 PM or midnight or whatever, then it's a nuisance ordinance violation or something like that. I mean, those are all things that we could put in there.
See, our noise ordinance is 10 o'clock.
It's 11 on 4th of July. They gonna shoot fireworks till 3 in the morning. Shoot them at 1 o'clock in the morning.
See, that would have to be put in.
So obviously, there's two parts to that. There's the shooting off part of it and then the sales part of it. that are-
I have a question. So if we spend 3 hours discussing this, get everything passed, it's gonna be a special use, which I believe he has to have the 15 days notice that gets mailed out to get on the agenda. Therefore, we can't get on the June agenda for plan, which puts
Unless,
us to the July 3rd meeting
correct.
to even be able to issue the business.
And then unless the council wanted to change fireworks to a non-special, like just an allowed purpose. I don't know that I would recommend that. Because you probably want to have some control over when, where, and how people are selling fireworks, but that's up to the council. But yes, given the time frame of when this was presented, after I talked to you, I went and looked at that as far as the time frame. Yes, I thought we could get this done. We could get the ordinance done to allow for the permitting and the sale. But I don't know, like, even if we contemporaneously with that pass the change to the zoning code, if it's requiring a special use permit from that first week, from that first meeting in June, I don't know that we could pass the special use permit in time by 4th of July. So that would be the only.
And then they may amend it for 2026.
And then it may all be moved for 2026.
So let's say they don't amend this at the state level. You're saying special use, but it's like a seasonal special use is what you're going with, right? So is that seasonal special use good for just that season? Or is that each business gonna have to come up here every single time that they wanna do this?
So that would be part of the suggestion at this point, maybe. I mean, one option is to try to push through something for this 4th of July. The other option is we can take, you as a council, the committee can take some time to discuss those things and we can actually build this in a formulaic kind of a way to ensure, if we want to try to allow it for more than just 4th of July. If there's a possibility of like starting before Memorial Day or, allowing for something with regards to New Year's and things like that. Those are all things that could be included in there, but it'd need to be more of a thought process than just trying to push something through. But that's why I put it on for today for discussion item.
I have no mouse in this race, but I'm just looking at it from the situation I was just in earlier. You grant a special use and now you're coming up here spending money every single time with the hopes that it gets passed, but if it doesn't, I'm sure that you're gonna have to go to a supplier and get your supply on order well before the 4th of July, and if we're gonna be dragging our feet, because I know this has been a topic for a little while, and now this information is just coming out, but I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna allow it, you gotta let the business promote it.
Well, and that would be one of the difficulties with this is that in most of these scenarios, the retailer is not going to be the landowner. So your special use applicant may not be the landowner, and we would have to, we could potentially, if the applicant is requesting it, grant it for so long as they're going to use it at that specific site authorized by that owner, and that owner remains the owner. But there is potential difficulty. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There are potential difficulties with year in and year out.
I'm just looking at it like,
In a business that isn't gonna own that land.
right, you know, I get that, it's just, you gotta make it, it's an odd business, I get that. But you also have, if you're gonna allow it, you gotta allow that person to make it the best business that they can. And you can't keep grounding them down and beating them down, so if you're gonna allow it. In my opinion, or don't allow it, like you can't sit here and set restrictions and basically let somebody monopolize or. Come up here and, oh yeah, they might give me my special use, but I already spent 50 grand, it seems a little.
We also have on our books itinerant merchant, which allows some flexibility, so. Itinerant merchant, that's what.
You gotta speak up, please.
Yeah.
I just can't hear you, man. I'm sorry.
I can't hear you over here.
What he's saying is we have provisions for an itinerant merchant, which I haven't reviewed to figure out how best that would.
Yeah, we have a permit that can be purchased at City Hall for an itinerant merchant who's only gonna be here temporarily. That's what we use to justify the vegetable place down that lot, down the lot across the street from True Value. When I was a mayor pro tem, they're trying to find a way for them to get their business going. And I finally looked at it and realized you are an itinerant merchant, and it was good for only 180 days. And in that one site, so there are other vehicles we can use for the merchant. Doesn't have to be a special use.
I mean, at that point, the owner would still need a special use.
Right.
For that, to allow for it.
Unless they're commercial, you're right, unless we put that on the list of special uses.
Go ahead, RJ.
Okay, so this has like a lot to do with me. I have gotten a business, permit. Fill that out. Sent it to the state fire marshal. They sent me then back my licensing because of where I'll be at and everything else that was approved to be sales fireworks down on Route 4. So all that permitting stuff is done. And they have my check and my everything, so, I'm just wondering on. I don't know where we're at right now.
So the fire marshal only governs the regulation of the retailer themselves.
Okay.
They are not, my understanding is they're not, technically PD's not likely going to go out there and make sure.
Right.
That each of your sales, however, there is the risk, the legal liability risk, both for the retailer and for the community and all those kinds of things, if something were to go wrong with a device that was sold by you, then that would be my concern of us not doing anything.
Well, with the fireworks sales and fireworks and stuff like that, like all sales are final and everything else with that being said, and then with the insurance stuff or whatever with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's all at like the risk of.
But technically, you as the retailer, you're required to verify that they have a consumer display permit.
Right.
So if you sell to somebody who does not have that consumer display permit, and I'm not giving you legal advice.
Sure.
You have your own attorney that you talk to, but just from a standpoint of that open liability of selling to somebody who's not technically permitted to do it.
Right.
And us allowing you to sell to persons who are not permitted.
And so. It's well to sell
From the
fireworks.
city? From the city.
Yeah, I have
The city issued him a
not a permit for the shoot, but a business permit.
business permit to sell already.
But technically, we've not amended the code to allow for that sale.
That's why I'm curious what
That's
can we
that's
do
always,
if the permit was issued already?
I don't know what permit, I mean,
Paul said he just.
Yeah, your check there. It's held.
no, it's not a permit, no, it's just, I'm sorry, I didn't
Okay,
understand your
now the
question.
business permit, that's not what you had to send off to the state?
No, what I had to send off to the state is the paper that they gave me showing that I'll be selling consumer grade fireworks and within Lebanon, Illinois, and then all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Not a permit from the city. No, they have not cashed my check or anything like that. They just have it on file.
because the plan commission made a recommendation to add it back in, because it had been removed. But no ordinance has been passed to add it back in, so he can't even apply for a special use permit until the code actually allows for that as a special use in that commercial, in that zone. So.
It's special. Do you have to list every special use that you have?
Technically, if you fail to list something, then it is viewed as an intentional exclusion.
I get that, but we just passed some special uses tonight. So, but they went into ordinance, is that what you're saying?
Correct,
So he
because
was-
those are, though, the one was for a home business.
Right.
Which technically is authorized, is a special use in a residential area.
Yeah, I just, like with down the bottom of the hill on 64, I purchased fireworks from Lowe's Tents there in, gosh, what's that city down there? Casico, thank you. And no sign of permit, it's cash, money, card, whatever it is, and that's your permit for down there.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I did look at Caseyville's ordinance and it doesn't specifically address the consumer display portion of it. Like there's no, it has nothing as far as a permit for the consumer. So there's a disconnect between their fireworks code and code sections and the state's the state statute. So, I mean, they may have decided not to enforce that provision.
because when I talked to the state fire marshal, they said that they don't pursue any of that. It's out there, right, like kind of like how you and I talked. It's out there, but they don't pursue it at all. I mean, they leave it up to the cities and municipalities or whatever they do.
Yeah, and some of them appeared, like I've looked at two different ones that adopt, that use Muni code. And their fireworks code section is identical, and to the point of it has the same title. So, you know, it's one of those things where, I mean, we could just do the zoning change and not do anything with fireworks. We can do something with the fireworks. It's just from a legal standpoint, it's my, you know, professional opinion that without some kind of a code allowing for that permit at this point, it's illegal under the state of Illinois to sell fireworks to a consumer that does not have a consumer permit. Enforcement, I want to be clear, enforcement's a completely different thing, but as far as in compliance with the law.
It's protecting us as a liability.
Yes, but to be clear, just so we're clear, it's the fire marshal that enforces that.
It's the fire marshal that enforces the regulations on that. It is a little bit of gray area as to who's technically responsible for enforcing if they violate the sale to a person who's not permitted to have a consumer display. I think technically it falls to both, and you never know. ISP could decide they have a problem with it, you know what I mean? Or St. Clair County could decide they have a problem with it, or.
Do they have jurisdiction though in our?
Because it's enforcement of state law, they probably could.
Yeah.
But either way, even if we said we don't care about the permits, we still can't get through the special use process in time, because the plan commission meeting that he could get on is July 3rd, and then it'd
They've
be
already-
in the next council.
So, yeah,
Because they would have to vote on that
because,
his specific name being tied to said special use, correct?
correct.
So with our
Yes.
processes, there's no way, even if we ignore all the permits, there's no way to get through our processes in time.
Correct, because plan commission only recommended the adding of the commercial zone. And I did not feel comfortable presenting that ordinance on its own unless we had this discussion. And this, everybody decided they just wanted to refer the zoning issue to the ordinance committee. If we want to do anything like the fireworks part of it, that could be passed in time, but I don't know the special use permit.
If we done with fireworks and now,
I'm just curious, how long has this been like a discussion? Cause it's been a while.
Month or less.
It had to be passed in the last meeting to get on the agenda for plan commission for June to even give us a shot.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
And the referral that was in the meeting, and I don't know what the discussions were prior to the plan commission or any of that. I didn't know what was provided to me. And it raised more concerns of trying to add something that without the back end regulations of it. As to regulate those sales and those kinds of things. So.
yeah, let's move on to number 3, which I think Ms. Washington and Luke are dealing with that, the update discussion of MedStar ambulance contract. Going to number 4, update on the deduct meter. Anybody have anything on that?
That was Pat. That's Pat.
You got anything, Penny, about that?
At last Monday's meeting, I was asked to send the information that was given back at the prior discussions, so that was an attachment with the agendas tonight. And there's an ordinance language there, probably together in the next meeting and make sure that everyone's on the same page. I sent it so that everyone can look at it again and know what we wanted to have them make the ordinance up to. We were in favor of the deduct meters at that time, but there was never any movement forward with an ordinance to make that go. So all of that information is back in your hands.
The information we received was given to us by Bill Milliken. And it came to me and I forwarded it back. It's basically 4 different cities ordinances. We've got to decide what we want for this city as an ordinance. Of those 4 that you received.
Okay, that's it on that. We got any new business?
Just a question, and Luke, if you need time to research, that's fine, but, so. The issue of like special use and having to send it out in the paper for 14 days and everything, like, continues to be a problem and causing us hiccups on getting things into town.
Okay,
Is that a state regulated process, or is that something we can amend in an ordinance? Cause it's not only costing us time and businesses, but it's also costly by us having to run those advertisements and send out all these letters and that kind of thing. I'm not trying to cut people out of the communication, but is that, do we have to have that 2 weeks prior to the first week of the month?
well, you have to, with most of those, you have to notice of the public hearing and the rules requiring the public hearing and the notice for the public hearing do fall under state law. Now, some of that is in conjunction with our code and how our code works. And if the city wanted to look at overhauling all of that, there are options and things that could be done and looked at to potentially help streamline some of that. But as far as anything with a zoning or a special use, or even a variance, there's always gonna, if it requires a public hearing, there's rules and requirements on how much notice there has to be for a public hearing. So unfortunately, I don't know that there's a strong workaround, because even the other workarounds may avoid the planning commission or the zoning appeal board, but they still would likely require a notice of a public hearing. It's just a matter of who's doing the public hearing and how that works going from that.
Do our ordinances specify who does the public hearing?
Yes, so for special use permit right now, that goes through plan commission. For variances, that goes through zoning board of appeals.
Okay, so that's maybe something we could look at amending, but otherwise. Cause it just, so essentially, like every time a business comes in, if they come in the last 2 weeks of the month. We can't physically get the application filled out and the communication to the paper to where they're automatically pushed 6 weeks. And then they get pushed 6 weeks from then, and then it has to go perfectly in plan commission. They have to all agree in one meeting. If they don't, it gets pushed another 4 weeks. And then it has to go to council the next time, and then we're drafting and everything else. That I just like to think that, I think as like a developer in town, when a building comes up for sale and I want to move a business here, I don't have 3 months to go through the process to get permission to see if that's gonna work out.
So the one thing I would say is almost all communities have a similar process.
Yeah.
Okay,
For those kinds of things. There's not. I mean, some may be able to move it down to like a 45-day, but if you're not going for something that's already, that doesn't require a special use permit, you're gonna have to, whether it's planning commission, a zoning hearing officer, board of appeals, whatever it is, there's going to be a delay. There's always I mean, yes, the alternative is to encourage the business to find something that's in it. Like if that's their goal, is to find the property in a zone where that's already allowable, and then it's a non-issue.
it's just the entire Brook Street has to go through plan. Like pretty much almost anything that happens up here has to go through that in some way, shape or form. And so, which is a big part of our development and what we're kind of falling behind in and why businesses aren't coming is.
In which case it might be something to look at. The council putting together a request to change what is allowed versus a special use and sending that to planning commission or plan commission. I'm gonna keep doing that, I apologize. That to request plan commission, review and have a public hearing on changing how it is to put more things that are allowable in that zone because of the purpose of what you're trying to do there, rather than requiring all the things to go through. But obviously there's certain things you're always gonna want to go through that process.
Yeah.
You know, so depending on what your developmental plans are and things like that. And so that's the difficulty is how do we do that?
So I think the difficulty is not so much the process and how much time it is. The problem is when you get derailed by either somebody that is representing the city or, you know, you're not funneled down the right path. Like, so if you come in here and you say this to the person that's sitting behind this desk or whoever it is, and you come up here as a business owner or somebody that wants to develop something and make something better. And again, you let personal things, in my opinion, derail what you should be. This is, all right, you're wanting this, you go that way. You want this, you go through this process.
Yeah.
But the problem is hoping it's gonna change. But the problem is that's not how it is. Cause I come up here, I get permits for building stuff all the time. And it's always, you can't do that. Well, no, it's not that you can't do it. It's that I need to go down this avenue to see if I can or not. It's not just one person's decision. But That, I'm telling you, from not just my personal, I know multiple contractors, multiple people that wanted to make something better in this town, that it's not necessarily the process that's on paper. It's the fact that you're not sent, and then you're like, oh, you don't have this, which is what I'm in right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really, really frustrating. It's not so much because you know, like, and this has been said to me, well, you didn't do this. I went up here and asked you which I needed. Once I get past that, like, I can't, you know, as a person, you can't ask me for anything else. And then to come back and want to slap you in the face later, that's not okay. And then and I think that is the biggest problem why we don't have anything in this town. It's because of those problems, not so much the process that's on paper. It's that you need to get there. And it's a damn mouse race right now. Like, we're hitting, turn around. And it just feels like you're in this, and like, honestly, it really makes you just want to be like, screw it, I'm out of this town and I'm gonna take money elsewhere. And I think that's the problem. And I know, you know, a lot of you are new. I'm just telling you how it has been, and I'm telling you how to get better.
I will say, I can't fix what was.
And I know, I said that, and
But
it's frustrating. I'm trying to get benefit of the doubt to the new people here, but like, it's been like that for so long.
I think with what I read that Stephanie gave me a while ago, I think if you approach Stephanie and Michelle both, I mean, they have a lot of knowledge as to where you start and the right process and stuff you have to go through.
It's 100%, but the problem is where when you walk through this door, where do you go?
You're not gonna.
Right here.
Just,
It's just like when I came up here to get my business, I specifically asked, because you made mention about the business, money that's available now. I literally asked about that, and you know what I was told? We don't have a process for that, like, that's not even up and running, it's not even something that we're even thinking about. If I was able, like, if you have a sign up here and say business owner, told you.
Oh, Luann.
Yeah, and so like, if you come here and you go, you know, 20 feet, now all of a sudden we got answers? Like, if you want to put a sign right here that says, hey, if you want some shit done, you go that way. Like, that's not right.
you make the sign and put it there, it'll be all right.
Yes.
Like, building plans are getting lost back there.
It's so frustrating,
Getting
man.
somebody that's at the bottom of the pile. When I was reviewing building plans for the city,
Hell, I had a building permit that I pulled that didn't go to the county for 4 years, and all of a sudden I got 133 tax increase. How are you supposed to budget what you're charging your tenants and all that stuff? Like, it goes on and on and on and on. Like, you try not to get frustrated, but man, like, you gotta fix it. Got to fix it.
The biggest thing is just, I encourage everybody on council to really look at the processes that businesses and developers are going through, and look at those ordinances and see if there's anything we can do. And I haven't read through them all specifically, but there's so many of them that require so many extra steps that they're not encouraging in growth. They're not encouraging people to come and want to develop here. And I can tell you, I work with a bank now that does a lot of commercial lending, and it's embarrassing how many people come and say they won't come to Lebanon because of the processes and having to go through all the steps. And I know that there's some that are mandated through the state, but there's some things in our ordinances and stuff like that I really think we can change. And I encourage you guys to start kind of looking at those, because we have to start thinking growth and thinking positivity to be able to kind of like turn where we're headed right now. Because if we don't do it now, we're gonna be gone before we know it. And it's not gonna be the town that, like you were talking about, that you loved growing up in. So I just encourage, like, if there's nothing on the ordinance, like agenda for that week or what, we should be throwing it on there every time to review those ordinances and seeing what we do. And I say the same thing about Plan Commission. If they don't have anything that month, they should be meeting and talking about what we can do to better these processes, because it's got to get better. Like, it has to. We've had this, I mean, that, I know this is my husband and he's going through it. I went through it, but we watched it with Creekside. And like, it just, there has to be a way to make it better. And I believe there is. And I think you guys, we have good people in these seats right now that we just have to work together. But I really encourage you guys to not let a meeting go by where like, we don't feel like we have a lot, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be a short meeting. No, we need to be making progress because we took off too many years to be taken off now. So I'll stop talking now. I'm done for the night.
Is there like a process for like when someone comes in and wants to start a business here or whatever, like, do we have like a packet that we can give them like, okay, for this, you go
No.
to so and so, for this, you go to so and so?
I don't think it's a packing work so much reason, and I guess I'm tooting their horn for them, or stuff with Michelle and Stephanie. But they will direct, if people go to them, they will direct them and have you.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, instead of them having to, take time out of their day, like, maybe we could like get a packet set up that has all their answers and all their knowledge.
Well, not all things the same.
Well, sure, but I mean, the general idea of like where you need to go to put in this permit, where you need to go to do this and.
Well, I'm trying to eliminate some of that, you just go see Michelle and Stephanie.
I think simply when a business comes in to
Yeah.
acquire, if we give like a business card of Michelle and Stephanie's information and they set up a meeting with Michelle, Stephanie and the mayor, there are incentives available in town and we have these things that we're setting up. And so I think that will help instead of like asking all your questions, maybe it is as simple of like, here's who you contact for all that, because we don't have a city administrator. So here it is. Because I do know Stephanie and Michelle, I mean, they've been teaching me the works of all the finance stuff and they do know so much and are working really hard to get the grants and get all these things set up that it's just a matter of getting these businesses straight to them, which I believe we have one business that's kind of done that.
That's right, this business now, the 618 Inc. is kind of, if you will, the poster child for the way you're supposed to do it so far anyway.
Yeah, it's just a matter of us consistently implementing that process, but if we can clean up the ordinances too, to cut out some of the extra steps, it would just make us so much more enticing to come here.
Is that the tattoo business?
Yeah.
We're talking about?
What happened?
I was
to the
gonna ask
coffee-
about
The
that.
coffee fee.
That, we don't know, no, she won't answer anybody's emails.
I wonder why.
She's purchased the area down there for her shop, so I don't know what she's gonna do with the.
We've made changes and we're doing something.
The cost, I guess, the tariffs and everything, I don't think anything to do with it or not.
I will say, if any of you have questions about the codes, or you want me to look at something, or whatever it is, reach out to me.
Do you have any card?
I do, I have them with me, so I will make sure everybody has my card on it. That's with the office number and my address, so, if there's anything anybody has questions about, wants me to look at, I can look at them, and then I can pass these on to the mayor and to George for the ordinance committee. Guys, if you have questions, that's what I'm here for. My goal is to make sure that everybody knows what's going, from my standpoint, where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Not that I have a vote in it, but that I can keep you all informed of where things are at. And if I can help try to find solutions, I will do my darndest to try to help find solutions.
Anything else? Anything, George? You're starting to
I'll
sign
make
off
a
on-
motion to adjourn.
Okay, let's do that. Who wants to leave? Yes, okay,
I'll
let's,
second that.
just second, let's go. Want to leave, say aye, if you don't, say no.
I have to get yours back.
Oh, yeah.